Hi everyone, in this video we are going to cover 5 ways that an ITAM tool enhances SCCM. My name is Laura and this is Dean.
Hi everyone.
So let's get right into it. Dean, many of our customers who use SCCM came to us to use our ITAM tool called VIZOR. SCCM is great at collecting data, but our customers realized that it was difficult to share that data throughout their organization. Can you give me an example of why organizations would want to do that and how VIZOR accomplishes this?
Yeah, sure. SCCM is very much aimed at IT technicians to do jobs such as deploying applications. However, it contains a lot of information which you may want to share with other people within the organization on the periphery of IT. So examples of that may be purchasing or finance or HR. So because VIZOR is a web-based tool, then we can make the information within SCCM and additional information from VIZOR easily available to those other roles and departments within the organization, in addition to making the information available more easily to other members of the IT team. So we can see a few examples of that here where we have examples of turnover, but we could have examples where people are purchasing assets and require approval. So there are a couple of examples of where you can make the information within SCCM available beyond IT using VIZOR.
Okay, that's great. And IT is basically responsible for anything with a plug, but IT is also usually responsible for assets without a plug. So how does VIZOR also help manage these assets without a plug that aren't typically managed in SCCM?
Yeah, so VIZOR has a central repository. So we want to centralize all your information with regards to IT to bring it all into one place. So in terms of assets, which you mentioned, then assets will certainly exist within SCCM. SCCM has a network discovery capability, so it's going to find all of your computers as well as printers, routers and switches. However, it won't find those other assets which maybe IT need to manage. So you mentioned how IT manage everything with a plug attached. So within VIZOR, you can see assets from SCCM. So if I go into computers here, we can see all of our computer assets, which would come from the SCCM discovery. But at the same time, we can see assets which maybe don't exist within SCCM. So examples may be projectors, it could be TVs, which is quite common for our customers within education. It could also be consumables, so things like laptop batteries, printer cartridges, maybe USB keys. We have a capability within VIZOR as well to manage bulk assets. So some of our customers manage, for example, lengths of network cable within VIZOR. So no matter what kind of assets you need to manage as an IT team, all of those assets can be managed in one central place within the VIZOR system. You also have the ability to see the status of those assets in one place as well. So if you want to see all the assets in storage, regardless of whether those assets exist within SCCM or you're currently managing them on a spreadsheet, then once you have VIZOR in place, you can see them all in one central location and perform reports and exports based on their status as well.
That's awesome, Dean. Thanks. So just shifting gears, if we're talking about auditing, compliance, and government requirements, organizations often need to compare their purchases with what's been discovered on their network with SCCM. This often results in a manual task of reconciling spreadsheets with inventory data from SCCM. How does VIZOR make this easier?
Yeah, so within VIZOR, not only do we have the raw inventory data from SCCM, so just let me select a computer here from SCCM and we'll look at some of the data coming in from that. But not only do we have that raw inventory data, we also have additional information with regards to that asset, which maybe you wouldn't traditionally store in SCCM and could exist within those spreadsheets. So just to exemplify that, so we can see here the MAC address and things like CPU and memory of this asset. So this is coming in from SCCM. However, right next to it on the purchase tab, then we can see all the purchase information relating to this computer. So where did we purchase this computer from? When was it purchased? How much did we pay for that asset, for example? VIZOR can even calculate things like depreciation and the current value of the asset using depreciation schemes. So this purchase information typically exists within spreadsheets, and then you have your raw inventory data, so the specs of the computer within SCCM. Within VIZOR, then that brings it all into one place, so you can do reporting upon that. So to give an example, you may want to do a report which shows all of the computers which were purchased from a supplier within the last 12 months, where they cost more than $1,000, for example. So within VIZOR, because all that information is centralized and all in one place, then you can easily create such a report within the system. Another example where our customers typically want to reconcile information from SCCM and their purchase information is with regards to software license compliance. So I've just opened up a report here. So this is one of our sort of basic compliance reports. So here we can see the entitlement. So in this case, for Microsoft Office. So the entitlement is what we purchased. So that would typically exist within your purchase information. But we can also see what's installed as well. And this would exist within SCCM. So with using VIZOR and using our reports, then we can see in one single report on one line what we've purchased, what's installed, and we're able to see whether we're compliant or not. So in this case, we're not compliant because we have more installed from SCCM than we purchased. So we see non-compliant. And then VIZOR indicates how much it would cost to become compliant. So we can see it'll cost $480 for us to acquire those additional licenses to become compliant. So that's an example, which is really common, where our customers come to us with entitlement information in spreadsheets, the installation data within SCCM, and they're struggling to reconcile those. So you can see here how we make it super simple and present it in reports so you can see your current compliance state.
Yeah, that makes it very easy. So moving on, SCCM is good at deployment and configuration management, but doesn't effectively manage the lifecycle of your assets. Can you tell us why this is important to monitor? And one example of how VIZOR does manage the lifecycle of your assets.
Yeah, so it's super simple, super important rather, to know what stage of your assets are within their life cycle. So this can help with things like hardware refreshes. So we can see here we have an expected life, so we can easily indicate when you need to refresh and replace your assets. However, assets have many different life cycle stages, and each of these can be managed within the VIZOR system. So just to give an example here, we can see each of the stages. So from initial request of an employee through provisioning stages, so from when an asset goes into a storage and it's approved. We have maintenance in repair statuses, as well as end of life scenarios. So if an asset has been lost, for example. Now, within VIZOR, we support best practices. So VIZOR's ITIL certified for asset management. So these statuses are based on those best practices for managing your assets. Although we understand that each IT department has different ways they want to manage their particular assets. With that said, we have a number of processes pre-built out of the box. So just to give you an example, it's very typical, obviously, for an asset to go through some maintenance during its lifetime. And you want to manage that process of an asset being checked in for a repair, managing the repair itself, and then being either returned to the employee or placed into storage so it can be used by another employee. Within VIZOR, we manage that entire process. So when an asset is placed into repair, then if the asset goes to a third party for repair, then VIZOR can send you an email reminding you to chase that third party if it's been with them for maybe longer than 2 weeks, for example. When an asset is placed into repair as well, then we'll log that repair within the system. So we can see here the number of repairs against this asset is currently 1. If that number of repairs exceeds a particular threshold, so our default is 3, then we will mark that asset as a lemon within the system, because perhaps there's some underlying defect with the asset which is requiring it to keep going into repair. So with VIZOR, we will flag that asset as a lemon, and then you can take whatever processes you need to do as an organization to either replace that asset. Because we have information such as warranty information within the system, then it's easy to see whether the asset is under warranty, and if you've had a certain number of repairs against that asset, then to request a refund against that asset or a replacement.
Well, thanks, Dean. This has been very insightful. I know it's just a small portion of what VIZOR can do, but now I want to turn the questions to the viewers. Do you recognize similar limitations with your SCCM? Do you have specific questions on how VIZOR can help enhance your SCCM? If so, schedule a short SCCM assessment below, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.